Hello, everybody, and welcome to Conversations with Vegan Women Leaders. I'm your host, Katrina Fox. My guest today is the lovely Naijha Wright-Brown. Naijha is a native New Yorker raised in the South Bronx. A successful serial entrepreneur, the thought of owning a restaurant never crossed her mind until she relocated to Baltimore in 2005 and met her co-worker, now husband, Gregory Brown. Naijha is the marketing director for the Land of Kush vegan soul food bistro in Baltimore, executive director of the Veg Society, co-creator of Vegan Soulfest and Maryland Vegan Restaurant Week, which is happening right now, and has a digital talk show called Naijha Speaks. She was recently named an honoree in the Baltimore Business Journal's Enterprising Women of Excellence initiative. Naijha loves making connections and helping people find their vegan soul. Welcome to the show, Naijha.
Thank you for having me, Katrina.
Oh, I'm really looking forward to speaking with you today because I know I've interviewed you before for Vegan Business Talk, where we focused very much all about your business. But this is about you because you have got such an incredible journey. You've got a wonderful energy. You do so much. And I'm really looking forward to diving in. So I'd like to go back to the beginning, first of all, because you were raised in the South Bronx. And I know that for people, not from the States, I guess people that aren't from that area, there's lots of stereotypes around places like the South Bronx. If we watch the shows like Law and Order, etc., people kind of say, oh, they're dangerous. I remember when I first went to New York in 1990, and I had a friend called Astrid who lived in Brooklyn at the time, and she said to me, whatever you do, don't go to the Bronx or Harlem. And so, you know what I mean? We sort of have these stereotypes. So I'd love for you to tell us, what was it like for you growing up in the South Bronx?
Well, growing up, I didn't feel unsafe in the South Bronx when I was younger. Times have changed, obviously. And, things have become unsafe, as in any major city. When you take away economic opportunities, people are trying to get what they can from each other, so you're trying to get what you can from one another. But it's just like any other inner city. Hey, crime is everywhere. Crime is in affluent neighborhoods as much as it's in middle class, goes on in, rich areas. So no, it's just when I was growing up, it wasn't hard. Times are harder now, but hey, you live one day at a time. Tomorrow's promised to no one.
Yeah, that's true. So when you were growing up, what was your childhood like? Who were your influences, or anything that's happened that contributed to who you are today?
Oh,
give us a little bit of a picture.
My mother, of
Your
course.
mom.
My mother, of course. Actually, it's great that you asked that, because I finished up a storytelling gig a few weeks ago, actually telling the story of my mom sending me to summer camp for the first time when I was 6 years old. Because my mom didn't want me to just be surrounded by this concrete. When you think of the inner city, the project, it's just a lot of concrete. The air is not fresh. She wanted me to be in an area where it was nature, different type of family, different type of environment and influence. And I think, and she says to this day, that had a major influence on who I am right now. Now, I've always been a compassionate person. So even at young, I loved animals and pets and things like that. I've had rats, mice, cats, dogs. So that was always me, compassion. But when she sent me away to camp, it opened my eyes to a lot of things at such a young age. And when I would come back home, I would always question why we didn't have the same environment that I would see in camp, so just free to walk down the road to the river, to the lake, bike ride, miles. It was just this level of freedom in these areas. And when you were in the inner city, it's like, your parents had to see where you are. You had to be home before the street lights went off, that sort of thing. So sending me to camp and being in camp for many years with this family, all the way to the age of 12, and then meeting up with them again when I was 21. And them taking me to Italy, which was the first time I was out of the country, definitely made an influence, because I got to see another perspective outside of the United States. So, I say your circle of influence is very important. You need to surround yourself with people that are doing different things and that are going places and know more than you know. Because if you're the only one that knows a lot and the smartest one in your group, then you're really not growing.
That's very true. That's very true. Any particular adversities you faced when you were younger that you've overcome or that you feel have shaped you in any way?
Well, I'm half Latino, so I'm Puerto Rican, but I wasn't raised with the Spanish background. So my grandparents are from Puerto Rico, so and my grandmother is still here, my abuela. So I think that was the only thing. Like a lot of people may have thought of themselves wanting to be a certain type of person, or they didn't want to be a person of color, they didn't want to be black, brown, or whatever. I didn't feel that in my community. I think my thing was I wanted to be Spanish. I was Spanish, but I didn't know how to speak the language. So I think, that, was some of the adversity I experienced going through schools, junior high school, where the Bronx is heavily populated, with Latinos. So that was really the only thing. Then, of course, young girl being, growing up as a young woman, you're going to face these challenges, the sexism and things like that. So my mother always taught me to be strong, like have your own money, get your own things. Don't, just depend on a man to get you through life. She would instill that in my head all the time. So I guess, that's why I am the way I am. I always have to have my own things, get my own things. And this whole joint situation is, I like to feel in control and secure.
Yeah, I love that. That sounds very good advice. Your mum sounds amazing.
She is.
Now, career-wise, Naijha, you've had a very varied career. I noticed you've worked at entry-level jobs since the age of 14. You've worked for chemical banks, private accounts, servicing high-end clients. You were a tech support specialist for Dow Jones Markets and a quality assurance supervisor for Verizon Wireless for a decade, where you were coaching and developing people. And I loved what you said. I was poking around your LinkedIn, and I noticed that you said, regardless of who you were working with, whether it's billionaires or senior citizens who didn't know how to work their iPhone, connection, there was one thing in common, and that was connecting with people. And I know that's really important to you. Can you just talk a little bit about that, the importance of connection?
Yeah, you have to understand who you're dealing with and who you're supporting. So just take tech support, which I've been doing until this day, all my life. Everyone's aptitude on technical, whether it's the computer, the phones, whatever it is you're dealing with, is different, whether you're young, middle-aged, old, and you have to meet people where they are. You can't assume that they know how to turn on a computer because you don't know that. So, and don't make judgment if they don't know how to do that. And I was great at supporting clients, all different levels of clients, because I put myself in their shoes. And I think that's what people have to understand. Put yourself in that person's shoes, and how would you want to receive this support, and support them like that, and that's what to this day, I'm like that with anything. How do I want to be assisted? How do I want to be supported? I put myself in these individual shoes, and that's how I make these connections.
I love that. And you make a lot of connections with everything you've done.
I love connections. I love meeting different people, new people, and learning different things. I mean, there's so many different cultures and just a lot to learn out there. And now I'm not going to say everyone is for everyone. I mean, there are some synergies and there are not. And that's just being realistic. Everybody's not going to like me, and I'm not going to like everybody. However, sometimes there's a common goal that people are trying to reach, that you can come together and work towards that goal. And we don't have to like each other for whatever reasons. So I'm able to work in that fashion as well.
I love that. I think that's really important, because we often see, when people are divided on certain things, but then they're not able to come together, or they let that stop them. And I think that's a real shame, because, sometimes, we might disagree with someone, or we might not like them, but if there is that common goal, and it seems to me that it seems to be people who are, say, anti-human rights or animal rights who seem to be able to put their differences aside and come together, whereas those of us that are fighting for, you know, social justice issues, sometimes we could be too busy fighting with ourselves to come together. So I love that you said that, the importance of connection. Now, I've got to mention this. I noticed you said in a past life you produced comedy and talent shows promoting diversity. Tell us about this, something I didn't know about you. Tell us about that a little bit.
I love comedy way before I became vegan, because I like to laugh. And anybody knows me, you know, when I'm relaxed and not focused on business, I'm always laughing. So there was a time in probably like 25-ish where I put my foot into some acting. I was going to acting classes, you know, learning how to do improv and things like that. And that's not really what I wanted to do once I put my foot in there. I didn't want to be the talent, because that's what they call you, the talent. I wanted to be the director and the producer. And then I found that there was a void that needed to be filled with the comedy. A lot of the younger comics weren't getting stage time because, you know, you either had to bring a bunch of people to the show or, you know, whatever the issue was. And I said, well, you know, let me build something around that. And then we just get a good host, seasoned host, and a headliner. And the company was called Now That's Comedy. And I would do that for a couple of years. And this was even during the time when 9/11 happened. And I enjoyed it. There's some comedians out there today that are, you know, doing really well. Paul Verzi is one of them. He shouted me out when he was doing an interview, I guess, with Bill Burr or one of them. So I was just surprised. I was like, yeah, I remember him. I remember him from years ago. Like, he was one of the new comics that I was working with. And Ken Black from Harlem. It's just a number of them. I got to watch a lot of comedians rise up to, you know, be celebrities at this time. So it was an amazing experience, and I learned a lot about the industry.
I think it's important, actually. My background is performance art as well. And I did some stand-up comedy as like a character comedian. And I think it's helpful for, like, you know, like doing what we're doing now, like, you know, doing interviews or speaking or just kind of having that presence. They're really useful skills. I think sometimes people think, oh, business and creativity don't go together, but like they so do, don't they?
I'm glad you said that. I don't know if you know Judy Carter, because she was
yes,
giving.
I've got her books.
Yeah, The Message of You. I actually sat. She knows me because I had signed up for her free speaking workshops. As soon as COVID hit, she was promoting these speaking workshops, and I got to sit in one of them, or several of them. And she said the same thing, that, you know, when you add a little humor to your presentation or your speaking gigs, it makes a difference. So that, again, was a connection that I made where I learned a lot from her. So, yeah, Judy's amazing.
She is fantastic. So let's talk about VeganSoul. So you moved to Baltimore, and this led you to co-founding the Land of Kush, which is a vegan soul food restaurant, which is wonderful. How did that come about? So I believe you weren't vegan at the time. So how did you kind of go from that to becoming vegan and being part of the restaurant, opening the restaurant?
Well, when I relocated down to Maryland through Verizon Wireless, so I was working in New Jersey, living in downtown Newark, another major city where a lot of things were going on. So the company relocated to Maryland, and I met Greg a year after I was in Maryland. But that first year I had a physical, and my cholesterol came back being high. And I had to do something about it. So once I figured that out, I'm not a medicines person. I don't, you know, pop pills and do all that stuff. I'm holistic. I like natural, holistic remedies. So I just had to search what didn't have cholesterol, what not to eat. I didn't know about this vegan, vegetarian, all these words that they have right now. I didn't know about any of that. But when I met Greg a year later, he was bringing these lunches to work. And we were on the same management team, and he would bring these lunches to work. So, of course, you know, building a relationship, building connections, I'm going to ask what's going on. And then that's when he told me, you know, he was vegan and, you know, what he was trying to do. And he would bring lunches for me to try. And, you know, I would try them. And, you know, we grew closer, and, you know, we became really close. And then he told me about his dream. He wanted to open up a restaurant. And I said, well, I used to promote nightclubs and comedy shows and talent shows, but I don't know anything about food service, but I do know how to market. And I think if you're passionate about anything, we can pull this off. But it would have to be VeganSoul. It have to be something that our community can connect with. So you're talking about the African-American Latinos. We have to be familiar with the food. because vegan food is, the misconception is it's rabbit food, and we're not eating rabbit food, the majority. Now there's some that may like raw foods and things like that, but that is not the majority. The majority, it has to be flavorful. So Greg took that advice and he went and worked on the collard greens and the yams and, the barbecue ribs, all of that. So he took that advice and we tested it out at an African-American festival in Baltimore, very popular one, hosting hundreds of thousands of people. And we sold out every night for 3 nights. So, and people would ask us, where can we get this, or where are you located? We weren't located anywhere at that point. And in the following year, we would be at Artscape, which is officially the biggest festival in Baltimore. And again, where are we located? So, Atlantic Kush. And it was going to be in the heart of Baltimore City because Greg and his family are from Baltimore. So that's how we began.
I love that. And I've got to give a shout out to Greg. What brilliant advocacy for veganism. Like literally just, try some food and look what ripple effect that's had, which exactly. I think is wonderful. So I absolutely love that. And you do such good work. I know I've written about and interviewed you before, and you do such amazing work. It's not just a vegan soul food restaurant. Like you help your staff, to manage their money. I remember when we spoke before, like you really help to develop people that are working with you, both in the community as well as the people that work with you. So I think although it's a business, it's a for-purpose business, a business for good. So I think you do a wonderful work there, and very well deserved getting the recent Baltimore Business Journal Award for what you did. Now, you say that you love to get people to connect with their vegan soul. What do you mean by that? And how do you define soul? Because I know we know of soul food, and when soul, we think of certain singers. How do you define soul, and what is vegan soul?
Your inner spirit. So everyone has a level of compassion in them. We can think of the worst of the worst as people, and they have some compassion in them. So when I'm saying soul, I'm talking about in your spirit. Find that vegan soul, that level of compassion, and bring it out, because it is there. So I help people get there, and again, when you feed people, they will come. And again, the food has to taste good. So it's all levels of dimensions of soul. Some people think of soul like, oh, and that's a black thing. Everything was always black. Yeah, that might be true. But your soul is your inner spirit. And sometimes you got to dig deep down inside. This society sometimes causes people to be so selfish and so about themselves. And, you can wind up being like the meanest person and, just terrorizing anything you touch or see. But if you sit back and really think about it, why are you like this? Why, are you eating this way? Why are you doing this to people? You might find out that, hey, this is the reason why I'm doing this. And maybe I just need to stop, one day at a time. How do we get there? A lot of people just need that level of support. They need that guidance, or someone there rooting them on. Like, yeah, you can do this. So that's
absolutely. Yeah, I love that. It's easy to get stuck, isn't it? I really like that. What have been some of the challenges you've faced with the business? Because I know there's been there is in any business, some ups and downs, some difficulties that can impact you emotionally to the point where, you think, oh, can I even still do this? Can you talk to us a little bit about that and how you handled that?
The work-life balance can suck. I mean, food service, anybody getting into food service, it's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week grind, especially if you live above the establishment like we do. So you're always in the mix. Like there's never a dull moment. So from that perspective, if you're not going to give it your all, if you're not going to be living the business, then don't get into the business. I think keeping staff, that's the hardest thing, because again, food service is a laborer's business. It is labor. And if you don't want to work, this is not for you. So it's a constant turnover of employees. And again, it's not always their fault. Sometimes it's our fault. In the beginning, we didn't know what we was doing. We're not restaurateurs. We're not trained restaurateurs. It's our first time doing this. So, giving the employees what they need is important as well, whether it's the level of training, whether it's the attention or the benefits, whatever it is that they're looking for, just listening to their feedback and trying to assist them with that. Just managing food costs. Food costs goes up and down. Are you pricing things right? constantly figuring out what the cost of your food and all of these expenses that are involved. Marketing. I don't care what product you have. You can have the best product out there. Nobody knows about it. Nobody cares. So you always have to be marketing. People always question, well, why are they always in the spotlight? Why are they not the best? We the best. Okay. Marketing. You got to market your business all the time. Every day. That's it. Every day, all the time.
So true. Now we've seen, Naijha, we've seen lots of obviously issues around race and injustice really kind of starting to be talked about in the so-called mainstream, more and more. One of the areas that we've seen is in business, where traditionally, people of color, entrepreneurs, and particularly women of color, have been overlooked in regards to investment, for example. What's been your experience as a woman of color who's a serial entrepreneur?
I try to think positively, and again, it goes back to the relationship building, finding people that believe in you and in what you're doing, your product, your business model, or your proposal. Yes, there are disparities. This is racism is taught. I'm just going to say it like that. This is not some magical thing that's going to go away. It is taught. You teach your children that. So anybody that's in a household where, you have children, this is a generational thing. It's not going anywhere. It's a mindset. So knowing that this is this and it's not going anywhere, what are you as an individual going to do? I'm not going to let that stop me. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. And I'm doing fine with it. Okay, you don't want to work with me. You don't want to have no because you race it. Okay, bye. Next, you got 10 no's to get to that one yes. Yes, we got to work harder. And that's it. I don't harp over it. I know it's there and you just spit it out. I think what needs to happen is people need to speak more about it because it is there and it does exist. Stop thinking that it doesn't exist because it does. And let's talk about it and why it's happening and what's the solutions. Again, it goes back to, you don't have to like me, but if I have a proposal here, put some money on it. We're sharing the same mission. What's the problem? Just have that conversation. And that's what you're going to get out of me. Nothing different.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. You said in the Baltimore Business Journal interview, don't push yourself or your goals to one side, especially for someone else. Say more about that.
Well, women have, and there could be some men. I don't know the men's experience. I'm sure there's men out there that may have dealt with that as well. But I know as women, we push our goals and things aside to, help and assist our loved ones. And, it could be anyone, family members, your spouse, siblings, whatever. You learn over time that if you keep pushing your stuff to the side, you're never going to get where you need to go. So you need to balance that out. You need to negotiate your environment. So if you're going to do all this helping, you can say, yeah, I can help you with this, but then I need this slot for this because I got to do me. You know what I'm saying? I have to take care of my business. Don't put your stuff to the side for anyone because, 9 times out of 10, this person's going to get to where they have to go and you're going to still be at the level that you're at, beating yourself up about it. And you don't want to do that. You don't want to beat yourself up. So what I try to do is I try to do things that make everyone inclusive. So if you could take something like a vegan Soulfest that was started by myself and Brenda Sanders, the executive director of the Afro Vegan Society. Okay, we needed a community festival in Baltimore, not in the county, because people are scared to come to Baltimore. We need it in Baltimore with our businesses representing vegan and veg-friendly businesses, period. And that's for all of us. And if you look at Maryland Vegan Restaurant Week, it is the same. It is for all of us. Just put some plant-based options on your menu. That's it. You're either in or out. If you're in, cool. Let's have a good time and allow people to come out and try your goods. So it's not just about Land of Kush. Everybody got to come to Land of Kush. I don't eat at Land of Kush every day. I eat out. My husband eats out. My daughter eats out. Let's all do this together, collectively. That's how you get things done. A lot of people are working in silos and wondering why no progress is being made, because we got to start collaborating, building strategic partnerships, and moving ourselves and the missions forward.
I love that. It's such good advice. And I love what you touched on when you said it's particularly often, generally speaking, women find it hard to say no to people. But then when you say no to one thing, when you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to something else. And often when you say yes to something that you don't really want to do, you've got resentment, and that can like have a toll as well on your sort of mental and even physical well-being. So
we do that also. I'll tell an experience about when I had my daughter. It's my first daughter, and I had her at the age of 40. You think your life is over. It's not over. It's not going to be the same, even though people tell you it's going to be the same. It's never going to be the same, because now you have another life, that you have to take care of. So that's part of, your projects that you need to deal with. But it's not over. Just make it happen and believe yourself, and you have to take a leap of faith.
Yeah, no, I love that. Now, you're the executive director, as we mentioned, for the Black Veg Society, and it's described as an organization whose mission is to educate the public, particularly Black people and Latinos, on the plant-based diet by meeting people where they're at. Can you just expand on that? So what do you mean by that, and how does it inform the education, advocacy, and interactions with those communities?
We're not going to be judgmental. So if I decide literally I'm going to meet you where you're at in your location, like the post office, we're going to do that. If I'm going to meet you where you're at mentally, because you may not be psychologically ready to consume an entire lifestyle of veganism, we're going to meet you where you're at. Okay, well, let's see how we can put some more non-animal products on the plate. Can you do this? So it's about understanding, again, relationship building, putting yourself in that person's shoes and figuring out, well, how can we make this work to achieve our goal and still be in line with our mission? Black Veg Society was a Facebook group, and it was the Black Vegetarian Society of Maryland. We are rebranding to Black Veg Society because we're spanning outside of Maryland. It was a Facebook group that a customer was trying to push on us and kept pushing on us when we first opened up the restaurant. And after 3 years, once we felt the restaurant was at its point where, okay, we can kind of let go a little bit, I took it on, and then we made it a nonprofit. And this is where we're at today. We were awarded in 2019 by Veg Fund for hosting over 24 events in a span of 2 years, which it was a lot of work. It was a lot of tabling and a lot of, organizing festivals and dinners and things like that. So we were happy to receive that award, and we're still going to continue to do that. And I think the best thing to do is, vegans are in the minority. We need to start reaching the majority, or, we're going to be in trouble. We need to educate the majority on what's going on. Some people are going to come, and some people aren't. And that's just the reality.
So on that, you recently, on your excellent talk show, Naijha Speaks, you recently hosted quite a controversial panel discussion, Health Waivers for Heart Attacks. And it was basically about whether meat eaters should waive their right to healthcare. So we'll put a link to that in the show notes so people can watch the whole panel. But just give us a little bit of an umbrella. What's your take on it? And what was the consensus of the panel on that?
I think that people do need to take responsibility for their health. However, waiving healthcare is extreme, in my opinion. I've had several family members die over the past few years because of stroke, heart attack, diabetes, what have you. So I would never say waive their right to healthcare. Again, we have to meet them where they are. Culture. If we're brought up on a culture of eating a certain way, then, hey, it's social. People are afraid of losing their social environment. Okay. I remember going through that when I became vegan. Okay. Oh, I can't go to Outback anymore, and the whole staff is going. What am I going to do? You have to understand the psychological damage that can do to people that may be alone already. And this is their social group. So you have to understand where people are from. We know what's going on in terms of the animals and the environment, global hunger, and health, but everyone is not on that level yet. We have to get people to that level. And again, everybody is not going to go. Everybody is not going. We have to face that reality. And there's no mandate for people to go vegan. Even if there was, there'd be a black market to not be vegan. So just understand this is just how things work. So yeah, one day at a time, be optimistic, realistic. I think it's extreme. And we just have to find solutions, and we have to get to these hospitals and educate them on getting these plant-based options on the menu, because that's even an issue. In schools, it's an issue. In prisons, it's an issue. And we're out here fighting people to go vegan and meatless, but the institutions aren't even wholly supporting it. So what are we doing about that? Okay, we got to keep doing what we're doing, talking to Congress, trying to get bills passed. Let's make that easier, and then maybe what we're trying to do will be a little easier. Right now,
that makes sense.
Exactly.
I was curious. I haven't watched it yet. I was curious. I thought, I wonder if anyone is voting. Yes,
it didn't go the way I expected. But there's going to be a part two. We're working on a part two. With a couple of different panelists, because I've had received feedback from some people. So, stay tuned for part two. Yeah,
it's certainly an interesting topic, because it's a bit of a dangerous road to go to, because like you say, I think we've all had parts of our, or times of our lives where, we're not particularly healthy, or some people might have an addiction to some foods, or they might not have access. Of course, some communities don't have access to healthy plant-based food, and don't, there's all of that. So I did wonder, I thought, that's a good juicy topic. So we'll put a link to that in the show notes page.
You still got to be responsible, though. Like when I found out about my cholesterol, I didn't continue to go out there and start eating scrambled eggs and all. So I did my research and by myself, without any assistance. But everybody's not going to be able to do that. You can't assume people are going to be just like you, because that's not reality.
Got it. So I've got one more question before we go into our rapid fire round. So just a little bit of a teaser. In the upcoming virtual event, Global Vegfest, you're hosting a panel as part of the Waivers live streams, showcasing vegan women's voices. And you're hosting a panel on how we can bridge the gap between racial divides in veganism, which is another big topic that's coming up. Just give us, obviously, we're going to point people to that bigger discussion. Can you just give us a little bit of a taster on your thoughts on how we can do that?
Again, if you meet people where they are and treat people how you want to be treated, I think we can get somewhere. Now, it's going to be hard. None of this is easy. But I think we need to come to the table with a couple of objectives and see where we can go with that and get some action plans in place. Again, because with that, you got mainstream, you got indigenous veganism that's always been here. Tracy McCorda speaks a lot about it in her African American Vegan Starter Guide. We've known about this lifestyle. This is nothing new. So how do we bridge this gap between mainstream veganism and the African American BIPOC communities? We'll see where it goes.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because, you have people that sort of say, oh, veganism is about the animals, or it's supposed to be about the animals. And when you keep bringing human rights into it, you're not centering the animals. Any thoughts on that?
I stay out of those conversations. I'm sure it's a conversation that'll come up in the panel discussion. Black people are dealing with a lot of social issues that they feel they're being treated better than animals. So what's the conversation around that? So with that conversation alone, that can take us a million different places, because that is a real conversation that's happening right now.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we'll definitely look forward to that panel at Global Vegfest that's coming up. So our final section, Naijha, is the rapid fire question. I'm going to ask you a question and you answer in just either one word or one sentence, unless you say something really dynamite, and I might say, okay, expand on that a little bit. So it's not a strict rule, but as much as possible, just a little rapid fire round. What's the most courageous thing you've ever done?
Wow, the most courageous thing that I've ever done. That's a good one. What's the most courageous thing that I've ever done? I don't know. That's but probably open up the restaurant. Because that's never been in my book of things of wanting to do. So I think leaving corporate, because you have to leave I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people want both. They want their cake and eat it too. And you have to make a decision on when you're going to make the split. And that's a courageous decision, because when you have your own business, there's no corporate structure that's protecting you, and the benefits and all that is on you. So you have to have the courage of a lion to really go through that. So I would say that's the most courageous thing, leaving corporate to work with my husband at the land of Kush. That was very, very, very scary for me.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Perfect. What does leadership mean to you, and what style or kind of leader do you believe you are?
Leadership means that you have to set an example. I believe I'm a transformational leader. I work with people on their inner skills and abilities to become the leaders that they want to be. So being a supervisor and a manager of several companies, working with people, coaching and developing them. You are your own brand. It starts there. I don't care what company you're working for. I was working for Verizon Wireless and a number of other companies, but Naijha Wright at that time, Naijha Wright-Brown is a brand. I am a company. I am a stock. Am I worth a penny? Do I want to be worth $1,000? How do we get there? That's part of leadership. A lot of people are just, sludging around like, oh, and I'm doing this for this. No, your reputation is your reputation, whether you're at this company, that company, or that company. So how do you want to look? How do you want your reputation to be when you leave these companies? Do you want to be a go-getter, or do you want to be a slouch?
I love that. That was really good. That was such a good answer. I love that. What do you love most about yourself?
That I'm a free spirit. And sometimes that's a good thing and a bad thing. A lot of times I could see two sides. And again, that could be a good thing and a bad thing. But I love myself. I love people. I love different types of people. And I love being this way. And sometimes it can be challenging because people want you to take sides. And sometimes I'm not going to take sides. This is just who I am. And then sometimes I will take sides depending on what it is. So I like the fact that I'm a free spirit.
I love that. What's one thing most people don't know about you?
That I was a gambler. I used to gamble at the casinos.
Really?
A whole paycheck. I used to love to play craps and blackjack and the slots. I mean, I was, really, really living in Atlantic City at one period of time. So yeah.
Were you a professional gambler, or was it a hobby? Like you just did it for fun?
It was I just loved the game, the game of chance. That's just how it was. I loved taking a chance, taking that risk, the adrenaline rush with it. I mean, I don't gamble like that anymore, obviously. But in my younger ages, when I was making a lot of money, I was doing it big up at the craps table and the blackjack.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. It's always nice to just find out about, we all do things. Whatever. That's great. Interesting. And now it's interesting you said about the risk thing, because I guess you almost do that going into running your own business. You probably get the highs and the lows from doing that. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's just that I didn't want to take that gamble when I left corporate, because then that's like, oh, this is real. At least in corporate, I can go gambling and I'm gonna get a check. And the next couple of weeks in the restaurant, you don't even know what's gonna go on.
So true. Final question, Naijha. Would have been a couple of, I know you've already shared some wonderful nuggets already, but any final thoughts, any final lessons that you've learned throughout your life, personally or professionally, that you would like to share with other vegan women leaders?
Yeah, don't ever let someone tell you can't be what you want to be. Believe in yourself. Take a leap of faith. Do your research. Very important. A lot of people just step out into things and they haven't done any research about anything. That's one thing I love to do, is research and take that information and then apply it to whatever thing I'm going to do, and make calculated decisions. And sometimes those decisions are very risky, and sometimes they're like, oh, I knew that was going to happen, so I'm comfortable with it. But don't let people told us not to open a restaurant, not to leave our cushy jobs. We did it anyway, and we did it in the height of the financial mortgage crisis. So That's how much we believe in ourselves, even though we were scared. Even though
love it. I love it. And look what you've created and the impact you've had and the ripples. I think that's wonderful. It's been such a pleasure speaking with you, Naijha. So everybody do check out naijhaspeaks.com, where you can find out all about Naijha's brilliant digital talk show, which streams on her own channel as well as on Jane Unchained. We had Jane as a guest last week. And also
Jane's
the land
awesome.
She is. Awesome. Also the land of Kush, landofkush.com. If you're in Baltimore, or you can get there, go visit it. I know next time I'm in the US, no idea when that will be, but I hope one day to sample your amazing vegan soul food. Check out the Black Black Veg Society, which is blackvegsociety.org. And if you're watching this video, those links are streaming along the bottom of your screen. If you're listening to the audio version of the show, then those links will be on the show notes page. Naijha, thank you so much for speaking with me today. You're awesome, amazing, you're inspiring. I feel uplifted after speaking with you. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me, Katrina. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks everyone for tuning in, and bye for now.